What is the dumbest thing you've ever done for absolutely no reason? Today's comment: the longest piece of literature to ever be written was a Super Smash Bros. Fanfic. Took some scissors while I was at my mom's friend's house and looked to see how hard I'd need to press to cut a lamp's wire to cut it off while the lamp was still on. Didn't need to press that hard. As a kid, my parents would tell me to go brush my teeth, and being the stupid kid that I was, I would go to the bathroom and lock the door, leave the water running, wet my toothbrush, and rinsed my mouth to make it look like I brushed my teeth, along with squeezing tiny blobs of toothpaste to make it look used, and would rub the toothbrush across my arm to make the brushing noises while eating mints to make my breath seem legit. All in all, this process took more time and effort than actually brushing my teeth. Someone asked me what time it was, and I lifted and rotated my wrist so I could look at my watch. I was holding an iced tea and just poured the whole thing into my lap. I wasn't wearing a watch. I didn't even own a watch. Never have. Your autopilot mode sucks. I put my finger into a handheld blender and turned it on to see if I could stop the blades from spinning. I couldn't, and it chewed up my finger. I was 21. You win. It hurts just reading this. My dad was sleeping on the couch and I happened to be holding an avocado. Without giving it a second thought, I chucked the avocado at his head for no reason. It plonked right off his forehead. Woke him up, of course, and he was so furious he couldn't look at me for the rest of the day. I was like 11 years old, and my dad has a temper. The moment it left my hand I knew my life was ending, so I just helplessly watched it sail into his sleeping face. Tore up and slowly consumed a sheet of printer paper. Please tell me that this was a show of dominance. To see how long the wait was, my dad handed me the phone book and asked me to look up the number. I, for whatever reason, thought he said get rid of this. So I opened the window and chucked the phone book while we were going 70 miles per hour down the highway. That was over 10 years ago. I still get shit for it. Got absolutely fractured on booze while camping. Went to bed and woke up with an overpowering need to pee. Not just any pee. A raging torrent hammering at the gates of my poor bladder. It was dark and I couldn't find the zipper. Didn't want to piss myself like a fucking drunk, so I felt around in a panic until I felt a seam. Ripped a huge hole in a brand new tent just so I didn't embarrass myself. I watched someone take a lid off a can of paint. It obviously needed to be stirred. She put the lid back on and tapped it gently, then handed it to me and asked me to shake it. I shook it a few times and then turned it upside down. The lid fell off. Paint spilled everywhere. I knew it was going to happen, yet I did it anyway, as if I didn't believe myself. Threw $5,000 down for a Tesla Roadster before realizing, wait, the prices listed on Tesla's websites were for just the reservation fee and not the full price of the car. Whoops. I put the money down the night the car was announced mid-November. I asked for a refund the week after. I've yet to receive said refund. Edit. 2/28. I've received the refund. Hooray. You thought a Tesla was $5,000? No, the prices listed on the reservation site were $50,000 for the base model and $250,000 for the Founders Edition. Being the impulsive idiot I was, I thought those were the base prices for the two models of the car. I was wrong. The base model starts at $200,000 and the Founders Edition at $250,000. The latter just wanted you to fork all the money up front, and since they didn't mention that, it seemed like the reservation fee for both was the full price of the car. To reserve the car, you pay $5,000 with a credit card, which is what I did, and then are expected to wire $45,000 to them to complete the reservation, or $245,000 if you got the Founders Edition. I stuck my head in the opening of the back of our dining room chairs. My head was stuck for almost an hour as my granddad tried to butter me up to get my head out. I also did the same thing with our stairs banister. Needless to say, I was a stupid child. Santa Claus as a kid, I decided a potted cactus outside the theater was fake. It did not look fake, and stuck my hands all over it to see what it felt like. I also convinced my brother, who was standing with me, to try it as well. We ended up with dozens of tiny painful cactus spikes stuck in each of our hands, and we had to leave to remove them with sandpaper back at the house. I just remember my mom turning around in the line and dumbfoundedly asking, "Why the hell did you do that?" To this day, I do not know. Trim around the windows of my house. Being the idiot that I decided to see what would happen if I shot a penny. The nail ricocheted off the penny, shot past my head, and ended up in the fridge behind me. Close call. I have a bad habit of sucking cups around my lips/mouth and then pulling it off, so it makes that very satisfying pop sound. One day I was holding a plastic bowl and absent-mindedly stuck it to my mouth and tried to suction it to me face. Discovered it was too big, moved it up over my nose and sucked. Proceeded to panic until I could pull the bowl off my face. I once picked a guy's pocket and put it back just to see if I could do it without getting caught. I didn't get caught. It was the single dumbest thing I've ever done in my life, considering how bad it could have gone if I had gotten caught. Angrily thwacked my laptop when the internet went out for the 10th time when I was trying to do my homework. Turns out I hid it where the hard drive was and it never worked again. Lost the homework I was trying to do. I chopped an aerosol paint can in half with an axe. I was far old enough to know better, but my cousin and I thought we had it worked out. My mom always said, "One kid, one brain, two kids, no brains." Boy was she right. I was yellow for a week. Edit. After seeing the comments, thought I'd answer a couple collective questions/observations. Our thought process was that if you used a freshly sharpened axe and swung it hard and fast enough, that the force/pressure would equal out and it wouldn't explode. Obviously we were wrong. Also, looking back, I'm sure my mom could've done more to remove more of the paint instead of just my eyes and majority of my face, but she wanted there to be a lesson learned. Outlet in the middle of a college class. Edit. Full story. This was during a graduate business school class. I was sitting in the back row, bored out of my mind. I had a foil gum wrapper that I rolled into a horseshoe design. I then looked at the electrical outlet and it was like my hand automatically started to move towards it. I remember in my head, I was saying, "Don't do it, you know what will happen," but I couldn't stop. Once both ends of the foil wrapper were in two of the holes for the electrical outlet, there was a pop, a spark, and then some smoke. The guy next to me was so startled, he flew back in his chair against the wall. I shorted the whole row of outlets that everyone had their laptops connected to. The professor started walking up to my area to see what happened, so I pulled the wrapper out of the outlet and tried to play it off. He only came up part way and made some comment about sticky fingers. Later on, I was voted by my peers to be most likely to burn down the business school. So, I have that going for me. Microwaved a pen for 2 minutes in the workplace microwave. To this day I do not know why I did that. Update. I'm still at the same job. The pen was a friction pilot. When the ink smoke cleared and my senses came back to me, I quickly ran across the street to Lowe's and bought the same exact microwave to replace it with. I was never caught. When I was maybe 10 to 12, I threw one of my dad's golf clubs that had no head on it like a spear down the hallway after telling my brother it would be cool. The result was a golf club hanging out of a hole in the wall and an extremely grounded me. Was it cool though? Way cool. One time I was eating a lemon popper seed muffin. The phone rang, so I reacted by shoving the entire muffin in my mouth and eating it as fast as I could, nearly choking to death. And I didn't even make it to the phone before it stopped ringing. Why did I do that? I threw a plastic bottle at a ceiling fan. It ricocheted back, right on my forehead. When I was about 9 to 10 years old, I threw a piece of pie into my neighbor's yard. Turns out my neighbor was in her yard. She came and knocked on my door while a piece of pie flew out of nowhere and almost hit her. Strangest thing I got in trouble for. You know those old cigarette lighters in cars? Nobody in my immediate family smokes, and when I was younger, I pressed it in and it popped out. I pulled it out to inspect. It was just grey coils. It didn't look red hot or anything. So I tested that sucker the best way I knew how. I stuck it to my tongue. Edit. Till there are many of us with proclivity to testing potentially hot objects on body parts. Ladies and gents, your next/current generation of scientists and engineers. Also, r/forbidden snacks level shit here. When I was 10, my sister and I were throwing stuffed animals at each other from ours rooms, doorways right across from each other. At some point I just grabbed some double batteries and threw them, hit her right in the head. Dad was less than happy. Maybe not the dumbest, but a recent one on my mind. I was in my office with the door closed, got up from my desk to walk out, and knocked on the door before opening it and walking into the hallway. I tried to put out a candle by covering it with a Kleenex. I failed a science test. I decided that I would just burn the grade and it would no longer exist. So I'm sitting in my bedroom, finally without sharing it with my sister, with the door open. I make sure I'm on the carpet for safety reasons and just grab the entire test, which was roughly 3 pages, and light the corner. My brother walked down at the right time and saw me. The paper went up instantly. I had no idea it was going to be that fast. In movies it would slowly burn, so you can see what the message was before the evidence was erased. My 12-year-old brother quickly put it out with his hands. And later, my mom found a small stain on the carpet. My brother didn't get burned or rat me out. Or if he did, no one told me. Clearly, I failed science for a reason. You have a message from the dumb man. Like and sub for nothing.